Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly, Miller's still start trouble. He's left on second and
does he have it? Is going to get it. They're going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly, Miller's still start trouble. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry! Good evening, finally, and welcome back to the JPB GT4 Championship Season 2, Round 1, live from Oulton Park, sponsored by Sim Racing Community. You can check them out down at simracingcommunity.com. That would be amazing. I am James Parfitt. I'm alongside, I get the absolute privilege of spending a whole season here with my good friend, Mr. Alex Goldschmidt, who will be joining me in the booth very, very shortly. 4.29 kilometers here as well. And we're running Britons and we're running Hislops. So we have got the full circuit at Oulton Park. Let's bring Mr. Alex into the booth. Alex, good evening to you, sir.
Evening, James. Evening, everybody. Well, you know what? I've been waiting, I've been chomping at the bit for an opportunity to do a GT4 Championship, and we were talking, what was it? Just the other day, and you said that, well, you said, anyone available? And I looked at my calendar and went, oh, Wednesday nights, that's good for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do start off the season at Oulton Park. There is the calendar there. We go from Oulton Park, we fly to the Nurburgring for round 2, Phillip Island for round 3, then we're on Road Atlanta for round 4, round 5 will be Zandvoort, round 6 Brands Hatch, round 7 Magny, round 8 is at Suzuka, round 9 is Road America, and then we finish off the season on the 1st of November at Sebring. As you can see, there will be a 15-minute sprint race plus a 45-minute feature with a pit stop. These gentlemen are only on 50% fuel. They will not have enough to get to the end, so they will have to pit. They will also have one fast repair as well. There will be incidents at 17, drive-through 17 there with no incident limits. There will be drive-throughs every 5 after. We've got 1 minute 37 on the clock. We've got Porsches, we've got Beamers, we've got Mercedes, we've got Aston Martins, and we've got McLarens. We've got the full GT4 here, Alex. And well, with a sprint race and a feature, it's got to be exciting, isn't it?
And it's going to put the proverbial cat amongst the pigeons when it comes to the second race. I mean, 45 minutes, mandatory pit stop, but the calendar. it speaks absolute volumes. It's some of the gems that we normally see on the GT4 European Series that normally runs alongside the Fanatec GT World Challenge powered by AWS. And yeah, I mean, you've got the who's who of manufacturers when it comes to this particular side of things. The Mercedes, the Porsche, the BMW, a lone Woking warrior in there as well with Stuart Gibbons. But yeah, I think starting off with Oulton Park, it's a great circuit, a lot of elevation changes, lots of technicality, especially when you come through from Cascades and you go through to Lakeside, Island Bend, the infamous Shell Oils corner, which has a very deceptive right-hand down camber. Then I'm so glad we're doing the full circuit with Britons and Hislops. This could catch people out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's going to be a circuit that's going to be interesting. And the reason that we know from Oulton Park is it's traditionally tight, right? It is a traditionally tight circuit. You, on the defense as such, if you put your car in the middle of the road, you're going to be in with a good shout of holding back the person behind. Now, we've got a lot of returning drivers. We've got Tim Perry has come back, Adam Hedgecock, Derek Crowther, of course, got promoted to the pros from the AMs. He was last season's AM champion. He's now into the pros. Danny Weston, Stuart Rice has all returned as well. But we've also got new people here as well. The likes of Mikey Pollard has come over. Richard Simnar has joined in as well. Richard White. So we've got a good spread of drivers. And it's going to be interesting and great battles all the way through in the Pro and AMs. And I think that's one of the things that we get here and the excitement that we get. We've got Open Quali. They've got to try and contend with Open Quali as well, Alex. And that alone is going to bring its challenges to try and get that up to, try and get as far forward up the grid as you can here.
Plus also, folks, we've got an international field. We've got representation from the United States, the United Kingdom, a few English flags. We've even got the Baltics involved, courtesy of the number 70 BMW M4, courtesy of Tano Orumets. We've also got, I think it's Australia. We've even got France, our friends from over the channel, represented in this championship, and I'm really excited to see. I'm really glad that there's a pro and an AM classification as well. So you're going to see with the new additions coming into this JPB GT4 Championship for Season 2, a lot of different skill sets, a lot of advancements going to be made over the course of the 10-week calendar.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the kickoff of the Clios were here as well. They were on the Foster's circuit, and there was 25 of them, I think it was. I think it was 20 of them rushing down in and through Cascades and down into Foster's. It was unbelievable. The TCRs also coming up this week. They're also at Oulton Park as well. So it's kind of timed in that all three series are at Oulton Park. TCRs are running the island layout, which means they don't have Shell Oils. They literally go round off Lakeside, round the right corner, and up they go the other way. The circuit as well is great for some great racing, and I think that's what Oulton Park is traditionally valued for and known for. The great racing that you can have here. That run from Cascades all the way down into Shell Oils. Don't get me wrong, Island Bend, if you're going to take it too wide, one of you will end up on the grass. It's just known that that's going to happen, Alex. And I think that's what we said in the driver briefing. Be careful of your lap one and cold tyres. Down into Cascades, down here into Island, as you can see, running too wide through there can just cause chaos.
Especially if you're the car on the outside. I've seen it before where people have ended up in the barriers on the approach into Island Bend. You've also got the run down from Old Hall, which is turn one, down the dip through the avenue. And then it really becomes like a bit of a roller coaster going through Dentons, which is a slight right-hand kink. And then you've got to really sort of prime yourself, brake hard, turn into Cascades. And I've seen people trying to be high, wide and handsome around the outside. But it's then when we come to Britons, we come to Hislops and Knickerbrook. Those are the two real pinch points, which we're now seeing, one of which on the circuit at the moment. And when they come through Clay Hill and go through Water Tower, which we're seeing now, because we're very shortly going to have our first respective lap times showcase and who's going to be at the sharp end of the field. I mean, we're going to probably, I think it's going to be more than likely either Mike Pollard or Stijn Veenman from the Netherlands, who are going to be the ones that are going to set the benchmark. So it's the 718 Cayman that's going to really sort of showcase the pace. But we've got BMW, we've got Mercedes. First lap is about to be completed. And it is Stijn Veenman with a 1:41.207, but Tim Perry trounces that by 0.6. 1 minute 40.620 in the number 83. Chris Barnes brings the 2:45 Merc up into second position. So we're now getting an understanding of how the session's going to progress. But with 1 minute 40s, if you have no dramas in this qualifying session, you might be able to get maybe another 3, possibly 4 laps out of this qualifying session, which then determines the sprint race, the 15-minute, full-on, all guns blazing, elbows sharpened, door rubbing, panel paint swapping. That's what we're going to see in the first race. I think, hopefully, as you said in the drivers' briefing, drivers were informed. Keep your elbows clean. And there's going to be a few drivers that will have competed, that have joined this championship for season 2, but they have to be on their best behaviour, because the first thing they don't want to have happen in the opening round of the season is to incur the wrath of the stewards.
No, they definitely don't. And we have said we are trialling the stewarding system in the TCRs, right? And answers to your question, Ria, is at the moment we're running 3 series. We've got the Clios on Monday, GT4s on Wednesday, TCRs on Friday. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we've got series going out. We have announced the new GT3s, but we are in discussion about whether or not that's going to be put on hold, or what the situation would be, whether or not we're going to look to put it on another day at the moment as well. So currently we're running 3 series. Now we are trialing stewarding for TCRs. Now what we have said, because that is still under a trial basis, is the Clios and the GT4s at the moment, although there isn't any active stewarding, we will be paying attention. Now, obviously, we're not going to be there saying you've got a 5-second penalty, 10-second penalty. We haven't got live stewarding, but they are aware that although there isn't as such an enforced stewarding, there will be notice of what goes on. And obviously, from what our JPB leagues are all about, is the respect of other drivers. If you have an issue with somebody, go and DM them, have a chat, make sure you do it respectfully. That's the thing when you've got a community as such, when you're putting together a community, getting that understanding from everybody and the respect. I think respect's a big thing. We don't often, you don't often see that happen when there is stewarding. So we have sort of put stewarding on hold, but we are paying attention. So from the driver's point of view, yes, they are going to lean on each other, Alex. That's just obvious that's going to happen. Yes, mistakes are going to be made, and yes, incidents will be, happen. It's Oulton Park, it will happen, but they are going to be trying to keep it as clean as possible. And I think that's the thing as well for them, is just to try and keep it clean, because to win the championship, to finish first in the championship, you've got to first finish. And if you don't do that in either race because you're being over aggressive, you ain't going to get anything.
Plus, you also need that run of consistency. In the meantime, Jordan Malcolm in the number 35 BMW M4 is the fastest out there. And that's with a 1 minute 40.554. 7/100ths ahead of Tim Perry in the 83 Porsche. Stijn Veenman in the number 66 Porsche rounds out the top 3, covered by 1.5 tenths. Gavin Petty in the number 32 Merc has just gone up to P5. Chris Barnes looks to be the highest of the AMs in the number 245. He's put in a best effort of a 1 minute 40.957. But with just coming up to 2.5 minutes to go, looking at the times, that's changed. Richard Simnall's just gone top, 1 minute 40.269 in the Porsche, the Porsche Cayman, the number 21. He's just trounced into Jordan Malcolm by nearly 3 tenths. The top 19 covered by 1.5 seconds, as we're getting really into the bottom of the 9th of this qualifying session.
No, we definitely are, and it's getting very, very tight here. Stijn Veenman is in 4th place for the AIRaceSummaries.com Jesse team. We've got the Tracy team and the Lucy team, so we'll keep an eye on that. If you're going to not have too much of a long name, you might as well, make it like that. But then again, it's not as long as the team I've seen on a Sunday in the IGP, you know what I mean? And that was horrendously long.
Oh, yes.
It was Hydroforce Racing powered by this, have that with this, and on the end with iRace or something. It was incredibly long. So hopefully you know, we've got some nice short ones. We're all right. We've got the returns of Rob Williams for Triple P. Stuart Rice is back for Triple P. Chris Barnes as well. Stuart Gibbons in the Blade Designs has returned once more. He will be partnering last season's AM Championship. Derek Crowther. We've got no Alan McCain. We have got the returning of Adam Hedgecock and Tim Perry for the Altitude boys. So this is going to be interesting to see what Derek Crowther can do, I think. For the AM champion, I think he's probably... I don't know if he's under a lot of pressure to perform. He was running right up there last season, and he's got the capability. But do you think that puts more pressure on him being this AM champion, being promoted up to pros?
It's a 50-50 on that one, and the reason why I say that is because you don't know how much work they've been doing, like putting into other particular leagues, whether they're sticking with GT4, might have had a little bit of a switch around, you know, maybe gone to GT3 or something else that might have tickled their fancy, but we just don't know. The first round isn't really going to give us an indication of that, James.
I think that's... this is why you get... I think this is why we do what we do, and it's the excitement of the unknown. And the unknown is the fact that we've got the old guard who have been here for season 1. We've got the new guard who've come in for season 2 as well, the new fresh challengers. And I think we could be in for an absolute epic season of racing, and I think it's one that's going to be very exciting. But let's have a look at the grid. Richard Simnar is on top with Tim Perry, Jordan Malcolm in 3rd, Stin Vinman in 4th, Derek Crowther 5th, Gavin Petty in 6th, Chris Barnes is there, the highest AM in 7th, Mike Pollard in 8th, Adam Hedgecock 9th, Ian Manners is in 10th, Chris Needham 11th, and Arnold Chagnon in 12th. Then behind that we've got Teague Ashburn in 13th, Tom Weston 14th, and Mike Pearce in 15th. Torna Orometz in 16th, Stuart Rice 17th, Rob Williams 18th, Chris Evans 19th, Danny Weston down in 20th, Richard Dwight 21st, Stuart Gibbons 22nd, Ryan Taylor 23rd, and Jason Hannington down in 24th. Then in 25th place is Stefan Mellis here as well. So apologies for earlier on, guys, us running late as well. There was technical issues. Unfortunately, Mr. Paddy Faulkner couldn't be resolved with a hammer. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little bit more technical than me just taking out the Irish screwdriver. So unfortunately for him, we had to get it set up and ready.
Yeah, or the shillelagh, if you want to call it that. You know, just give it a good old whack. Yeah,
Oh.
that's there you go. Or you could have done the old keyboard smash, which is effectively Control Alt and Delete, and that's the more passive aggressive version of it.
Yes, I don't think my wife would not have been too happy if I took a Irish screwdriver to my PC, right? I'm not going to lie. She keeps moaning at me now because I keep finding ways to upgrade it as the year goes on. And she keeps moaning about the fact. She's like, James, what's this? I'm like, don't worry, darling. It's not for me. It's for my computer. You and that computer? I swear, there's more money in that computer than you do spend on me. She turns around and says, but, you know, hey, she'll get over it. You know what I mean? Bless her little cotton socks.
She'll be fine.
She'll be fine, yeah. So she come over and I smashed her with an hammer. Can you imagine what height of the level that men are generally in I would be in at that point?
I think you would be in both feet up to your knees and probably beyond the top of your head by the time she's pushed you down into it.
Absolutely. Oh, James, you and your round 1 session setup. Stop moaning. I didn't actually set these up, I'd like to point out as well, Mr. Ferdal. So behave yourself. But here we go. We are going to be up and running. Simnar's already gone. He has gone already. He's got Tim Perry right up behind him. Stim Vinman has also made the jump, and Jordan Malcolm. Then we've got a bit of a gap to the sleepers there as well with Gavin Petty, Mikey Pollard, Derek Crowther. Ian Manners is all beside him as well. But absolutely, Richard Simnar was gone. Simnar decided he'd had enough before they even come around the last corner there, Alex. He bolted off like an absolute rocket. And it was just unbelievable. He's now out in front and flying along nicely.
Yep, so they come through in towards Shell Oils for the first time. Not exactly the best start for Chris Barnes, but you have to give a shout out for him in the number 245 Mercedes, qualified P7, Chanonier now up into 11th position, having made up one place. Yeah, it's getting a bit fruity. I mean, like I said, with regards to Shell Oils, you've got that adverse camber to the right-hand side. So the right-hand side tyres could be the ones compromised over the majority of the circuit, I mean, especially with the way that these tyres are going to be moving from left to right, and the majority of the corners are right-handers. So expect a little bit of adverse tyre wear on the right-hand side of the wagons.
Yeah, Chris Evans here with a triple P. That was Richard White passing Danny Weston there. So Richard White getting past Danny Weston as well. So White moves himself up into 20th. Don't forget, the grid will be set from race 1. So it will be where you finish in race 1 will be where you start. Needham has got Ashburn tucked up right behind him here as well on that run down into Lodge. You can see the undulation, up, down, onto the brakes they go. Looking for the dip on the inside. If you catch that dip like Ashburn did, it helps with the rotation of the car. If you don't, like Needham did, you get a slow exit and now you're going to be under pressure. So for Chris Needham, he's got to go hard on the defense here as well. Looks like Stuart Gibbons has had a moment. That's Chris Evans.
He's not the only one.
Yeah, Chris Evans, Stuart Gibbons. It was Chris Evans first, I think, coming out there. And unfortunately, I think Gibbo may have ended up doing exactly the same thing. He did.
Oh, he's been smacked. He's been properly smacked. I think that was might have been Hannington that might have just T-boned him as he came across the circuit on that particular occasion, or might have been Chris Needham's drops all the way down to 23rd, but that is just a significant accident.
There was more off the side of the circuit there as well. Sorry, Alex, but Chris Barnes was off. And Ian Manners and Barnes had a little coming together as well there. And I'm wondering which way round that would have been and whether or not that was more of an incident coming out of Shell Oils. There they are. You can see them there.
Manners has just been turned around. The thing is that when someone is squeezed to the outside of the exit of Shell Oils, that is another touch point here. That is another danger point. You run wide, and the car on the inside is more likely to get turned around, and that's exactly what we saw with Ian Manners there. Real shame for the number 52. I mean, he started in 10th position. We did say just to be careful. It's been the slightest amount of contact. It's the same with GT3s. It's the same with GT4s. The slightest amount of touch on the rear end, it's going to make it light. It's going to spin it around very, very quickly indeed. Danny Weston has just been off track of the number 69 Mercedes. And he's in the barriers as well.
Yeah, how did he end up there? First off, he went off here, and then he came back on. And I think it's actually this second one. Oh, on the grass. Oh.
Yeah, that is
easily done.
It's a real shame as well.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You run wide out of Lodge, and unfortunately, that's easy done because of where you are on track. And I think that's the thing as well. You know, for Danny Weston here as well, on lap 2, coming out of Lodge, hitting the grass, and as soon as you put the power down, good night Vienna, you know what I mean? You are going to be in trouble. So it's going to be tough for Danny Weston. He's jumped straight back into the pits. They do have one fast repair. 10 minutes remaining of race 1 here, Alex. And at the moment, the man that made that jump straight at the beginning, Simnar here, literally flew away for the AIRaceSummaries.com Tracy team, has still managed to hold on. And we've got Simnar, Perry, Venman and Malcolm with Gavin Petty there in the background trying to close them down. But Simnar got a jump at the start, didn't he? He was already gone, and he was literally flying along, and it was good night from Simnar. He waited for everybody to go round Druids, waited for them all to back up, and then he just bolted.
It was a bit like a Max Verstappen Formula 1 restart, you know, just timed it absolutely perfectly, and was within his rights to do so. You catch everyone behind you napping, well, that's their problem.
Yep.
Because as soon as those lights go out, and you are within that zone, as long as you don't get penalised by the iRacing server, running aboard with Tim Perry, who's now half a second behind Richard Simnor. And Simnor's just put in the fastest lap, which was previously being held by Jordan Malcolm in 4th place in an under 35 BMW, 40.374. But I think it's, you know, it's a top 3 lockout by the Porsches, but Jordan Malcolm, I would possibly hope that over the course of the next few minutes of this race, I mean, we've got 9.5 to go, could this BMW factor in? I mean, Gavin Petty in the number 32 looks to be increasing his pace, but Perry's very close to Simnor as they come through into Shell Oils once again.
Yeah, he's got to try and get the exit. Let it run wide as he can. Keep it to the tight on the right-hand side. Open up the first chicane here for Open Up Britons. Through you go. Try and let it roll and get the power. Now he's got an exit. Is this going to be Perry's opportunity? Is he going to be looking at taking that line down into Hislops? He's going to be around the outside. That's not going to work. He's forced Simnor to go defensive. Through he goes now. Simnor's got the run. Even though he was on the defense there, Alex, Simnor still managed to get the run out of Hislops. Still managed to get round the corner. And off he went up through Clay Hill. And now he's opened up 3 attempts again. He just seems to have that part of the circuit hooked up to the point of where, although Perry was close, it's kind of almost close but no cigar. It's just not quite close enough.
Yeah, I think it's just always about making sure that you've got the optimum setup. I mean, there's a lot of undulation. There's a lot of bumps these drivers have to go through as they're coming through out of Dearly after Lodge Corner. Now, this is one of the biggest sort of like yo-yo swings when it comes to elevation. You're down the dip, you're up the crest, you're over the hill, and sometimes this start-finish straight can be very, very much unsighted, as Tim Perry got a really good run on Simnor there going through into Old Hall, but we've got a little bit of argy-bargy a little bit further back.
Chris Barnes, Adam Hedgecott, Teague Ashburn were near enough 3 wide at one point. Tim Perry is tucked up behind Simnor as well. They're going into Islands. I'm not expecting him to make the move from there. But what can Hedgecott do? Can he hold Barnes back? Barnes, the highest qualifying AM. He's got Oromets behind him at the moment as well. Ian Manners is trying to come back through the field with Chris Needham. Now, for Chris Needham, unfortunately, he just kind of disappeared out of the timing tower. He just kind of went down quite quickly, and this is why for Chris Needham, as he's coming down the hill at the moment into Cascades. Oh, he was sent round by the BMW. Ooh, was that Ashburn that sent him round? It was, and unfortunately for Needham and Ashburn, that cost them both. And now Needham's all the way down in 21st, battling away with Manners. That front group have separated a little bit. Williams has got Western for company in this mid-pack, in this AM fight. Williams sitting 3rd in class at the moment, with Western, the pro behind him, is sitting 12th. So you're never alone, should we say, when you're battling away here.
No, you never are. I mean, the battles now, when you look at the train being led by Arnaud Chanonier in the number 142. Now, this is the battle over 8th place, which has got Ashburn, Hedgecock, Barnes, Oromets. They're all within 3/4 of a second of each other. At some points, less than half a second. So it's about trying to help yourself as much as you can with regards to your grid position for the 45-minute race that will be coming up next. But again, it's this... As I said earlier, I mean, Hedgecock's just had a slight off track. As I said earlier, JP, it is more the case of you don't want to start off on the bad foot with not just yourself, because you'd be kicking yourself after problems happen, as Williams has just been passed. So that just goes to show that you've just got to, you know, mind your P's and Q's over these first couple of races and then settle into a rhythm at round 2.
I think that's the thing. I think round 1 is knowing what you can do. Knowing who you can do things with. I think that's one of the things when you bring drivers together into the community. It's knowing who you can race clean with and side by side, who you can't race clean with side by side because for whatever reason you always end up making contact, and who you can battle with elbows out with contact, but you know it's fair racing. And I think that's the thing when you've got 25 drivers from different communities all battling away on track, and you can see it down in here with Chagnon. He's got Ashburn closing, Hedgecock and Barnes. Now, Hedgecock and Barnes and Chagnon were both basically last time out from last season. But Ashburn in the middle here for the AI Summaries Jesse team is new in. So you can see behind, Barnes is having a go at Hedgecock. He shoots up. He overshot that.
Yeah, well, I think he just went a bit too gung-ho into Lodge Corner, and that's one of the biggest problems with certain parts of this circuit, like say Lodge Corner, Druids. You know, you go a bit too ham-fisted into those corners, and you forget to hit the brake pedal, or you know, it's like there's a delayed reaction. It sometimes can happen when you're battling for position that sometimes you'll make an unforced error. Okay, you make an unforced error at this point in the championship, it's not going to be a problem. But when we get to the latter, the latter parts of the calendar, like say Suzuka, Road America, and Sebring, which are the final 3 rounds on the championship calendar, that's where the mistakes have to be pretty much eliminated.
I fully agree. When you're coming in and you're battling away, you've got to make sure you get it right, and you've got to make sure that for Chris Barnes here, he's going to be kicking himself as well, because not only did he not get past Adam Hedgecott with overshooting the turn there, he also lost 2 positions in the AM fight with Oromets and Pierce getting through. So unfortunately for Barnes, that 1 step forward took him 2 steps back. So for the Triple P Racing AMG boy here, Chris Barnes, he's now got to regroup and try and have another go. Don't forget the grid is set by the finishing positions in race 1. So Simnar, Perry, Vinman, Malcolm will start off here as well, where they finish, of course. You can see the gainers and the losers on the left-hand side. Barnes is down 6. Now, I'm wondering for Barnes, though, Alex, is Barnes may have had a great qualifying, right? It's proven. But is he where we talk about sometimes that he's where he should be? Now, that's not meaning any disrespect to Chris Barnes. It's just meaning, is his natural race pace more where he is at the moment in the standings than where he was at the beginning of the race?
I think it's more the way of filling out your opposition, because Oromets is now leading the AM class. He's made up 5 places, the Estonian, up from 16th to 11th. So these first couple of races, for those that haven't raced against each other, particularly in the AM class, they may have gone, oh, well, let's have a look at this guy. But if they haven't made the right preparation, and this is no disrespect to anybody, if you come into a new championship and you're going against drivers that you haven't raced against before, you don't know what they are capable of. You're putting the feelers out. You're wondering what's going on, as we're now going to have a replay. Now, this is the reason why Ian Manners is out, and that was going through Britain's, wasn't it?
Yeah,
first tyre barrier, and he's been in the pits for just over 3 minutes. And
braking on the grass.
It just mullered the right-hand side of the Mercedes-Benz, so he's going to be starting from the back end of the field for race 2, but that's not how you want to end your first race in the GT4 series, I'm afraid.
No, braking on the grass will end up doing that for Mr. Manners, unfortunately, here. Richard White is trying to get on to the back of Mr. Needham. So Richard White in that Merc with Chris Needham behind. We've still got the battle up front. They are battling in now here as well. 1:40 on the clock. This is going to be the final lap for these gentlemen. They are going to have to try. There's Barney waving. Now it's all about where they're going to go. Tim Perry's got a run coming out of Cascades. Are they going to take it? There's a car off the side of the circuit. I think Danny Weston is off down here somewhere. They're side by side. Perry! He did it! He elbowed him and he battled with Simnar there as well. He battled him out. He bullied him out of the way there, Alex. And now Tim Perry surely is on for the win here.
Of all the places you would never expect to move to transpire at Island Bend, but keep your eyes on Jordan Malcolm. Now, he's not that far behind Tim Perry, nor Simnar, nor Veenman. The top 4 covered by 1.25 seconds as they're now going into Hislops and Knickerbrook for what is the final time. 35 seconds on the timer. I mean, Perry has just absolutely nailed it to the mast, as in his flag, and he's really showcased that Simnar's not going to have an easy ride here this season.
Yeah, he's definitely not. Perry's not going to let him get away. Perry will start race 2 in the front if he can just get this done. Down they go now under the bridge there as well. Simnar's poking his nose out. He's not going to be silly enough to dive this early on over Tim Perry. It's going to be Tim Perry's going to come over the line. He's going to take the victory for race 1. Perry does it there as well. What's going on down on in the AMS? Well, everything is going on in the AMS. Barnes is past Pierce. He's side by side with Auramets going around the final corner. Is it going to be Auramets? Down through they go. Dear Leap, he's got to come to the left. Auramets, don't leave it open. And it is Auramets who took the win there with Barnes, with Weston, with Pierce finishing off. What about Jason Haddington? He's just lost a position to his Air Smart boss there, Mr. Needham. So I think may have team orders, I don't know, for Chris Needham, but he comes over the line and finishes off there as well. Great ending as always, and Tim Perry did a stellar job.
Yeah, I think the way he just decided to have a bit of gung-ho, have some cojones and throw it up the inside of Island Bend, which was a move that I think you and I weren't both expecting. You know, if he'd done it at Cascades, fair play. But Island Bend is where the circuit starts to narrow. And going into Shell Oils, you have got to have the biggest amount of gumption in your stomach to go like, right, I know I can do this. I can make this move stick. And he pulled it off, and it was an absolute perler. One of the first best overtakes of the evening so far. And we've still got another 9 rounds after this next race, JP.
Yeah, Tim Perry is your winner for Altitude Esports in the Porsche. Richard Simnor in second. Stim Vinman in third. Jordan Malcolm in fourth. Gavin Petty in fifth. Derek Crowber there for his first time out in the pros in sixth. Mike Pollard in seventh. Arnold Chagnonier in eighth. T. Gashburn in ninth. And Adam Hedgecock in 10th. Torno Auramets in 11th. The AM winner with Chris Barnes in second. Then Tom Weston managed to sneak it into third with a last lap overtake over Mike Pierce, who finishes off the podiums for the AMS. Then you've got Robert Williams, Stuart Rice and Ryan Taylor. Then behind that, Ryan Taylor, you've got Stefan Mellis, Chris Needham, Jason Haddington, Richard White, Chris Evans, Stuart Gibbons, Danny Weston and Ian Manners. So there we go. They've got a brief little warm-up now that they can have a run about as well. But let's be fair, Alex, if we're going to open up the season with a race like that, with action like that as well, you know, the next 9 rounds, well, it's going to be an absolute banger, isn't it?
Yeah, but then we're also going to see how the drivers fare over the 45-minute feature race where they've got to do the mandatory pit stop. You know, we're running them at 50% fuel. Okay, you've got more, you'll have more than enough reserve in the tank to do a 15-minute race, but we'll then see how adapt the drivers are at strategy. That's going to be crucial, considering of where we are racing. We've got the Nurburgring next week. You know, there are going to be certain tracks where fuel mileage is going to be a lot more significant. You know, when you look at, like, say, Brands Hatch, Suzuka, you're going to be a lot on the power there. Sebring's going to be sort of rotate the car, squirt it. So you're going to be on the brakes, on the throttle. So you've really got to sort of see how your car's going to work underneath you. We did have people switching cars just today before the season kicked off, and that's going to be the interesting thing. Which is going to be the more fuel efficient car? Is it going to be the Porsche? Is it going to be the BMW, the Merc, the Aston, the McLaren, of which we've now got 2, thanks to Stefan Mellis from Belgium? It's going to be interesting to see, mate. That's all I can say about it. Strategy always throws another spanner in the works, or in this case, spanner in the Cheshire washing machine.
Yes. And that's the thing here as well. That mandatory pit stop does spice it all up. It gets them all thinking on what they're going to be able to do. When are you going to pit? Are you going to run your fuel dry? Are you not going to run it dry? Are you going to try the undercut, the overcut? Is it all going to be happening? You can see it here. Auramets is down in 11th place. Perry, Simnar, Venman, Malcolm Petty. You know, all of these guys have all got so much to think about. Now, I know Jordan Malcolm from, believe it or not, an oval NASCAR league, right? And this man, and I say this with the utmost respect for the Australian, he is an absolute master of saving fuel. Alex, I have never seen anybody do it like he does it in a NASCAR, and I'm sure he'll do it on here as well today.
Yeah, the proof is going to be in the pudding. You know, like you say, with regards to if you're starting with half a tank of fuel, as you said, are you going to run dry? You're going to run it dry, leave the pit stop right until the last moment. The first thing that's going to do is help you because your car is going to be faster than everybody else's once you get back out on track. So that'll be less time in the pit stop, less time spent crawling at the pit lane speed limiter, but also then you've got to contest with the fact of a longer race. Okay, you then got to look at it from this perspective: how much more practice have the drivers put in? How many more instant points are they going to rack up? Are they going to hit the limit and then get an automatic drive-through? There's so much that we don't know that we're going to find out over a 45-minute race distance. And you know what, mate? I can't wait to see it happen.
Yeah, mate. If there's anything last season, some of the interesting pit stop strategies we had was just crazy, and people trying to take it long, and then people's automatic fueling not working, and then unfortunately for them they would run out of fuel, and it was all getting a little bit scrappy and messy. And then we saw Arthur Ferdel, who had an absolute nightmare with pit stops until about midway through the season. But let's bring you up this grid here for race 2. Tim Perry is the lead car from Altitude Esports, with Richard Simnor in second, Stim Vinman in third, Jordan Malcolm fourth, Gavin Petty in fifth, Derek Crowther battled his way into sixth, great run out for Derek, Mike Pollard in seventh, Arnold Chagnon in eighth, Teague Ashburn ninth, and Adam Hedgecock in 10th. Then we get into the AMs, Torno Oromets in 11th, Chris Barnes in 12th, with Weston in 13th, Mike Pierce 14th, Williams 15th, Stuart Rice 16th, Ryan Taylor 17th, Stefan Mellis 18th, Chris Needham down in 19th, Jason Haddington, Richard White, Chris Evans, Stuart Gibbons, Danny Weston, and this man here, Ian Manners, is down in the last place position. He alone is going to have a mission, right, isn't he? But let's be real, Oulton Park, back of the grid, not the most easiest thing to try and maintain and get through.
Yeah, and he's got a point to prove. I mean, obviously with that mistake going through and smacking the tyre walls whilst braking on the grass just outside of Britain's, he's got to, you know what they say, once bitten, twice shy. He won't want to do that again, because he will literally be into the return to garage walk of shame, so to speak. But you know what? Let's see what Mr. Manners can do from the back end of the field. And if he has to deal with any sort of incidents that might occur, especially in the mid-pack, we know the mid-pack is quite deceptive when it comes to incidents happening.
Yeah, here we go. I knew it. He's jumped. He's gone. He backed them up into the lodge, and he bolted there as well. Perry has gone. Simnar's gone with him. Venman and Malcolm again. Gavin Petty keeping it up behind that. What's happening down in the AMs? Chris Barnes is in there as well. He's trying to go round the outside of Oromets. They're going to lean on each other. Oromets has gone round. Oromets is round, unfortunately. He's now got to sit there and just stare at everybody going past. So that's one place at least for Ian Manners. He's up 2 places here. Gibbons running side by side with Evans, but at the moment it is Tim Perry, apart from Torno Oromets. Everybody away cleanly, and it is Perry out in front.
Yeah, in the AMS battle, Chris Barnes and Mike Pierce are within 4 and a bit tenths of a second of each other. Make that just under 4 tenths. It's sort of ebbing and flowing in the lead for the AM classification. Stuart Rice rounds out the top 3 and 14th. He's already made up 2 positions in the opening minute, but Tano Oromets was lucky that BMW did not end up backwards into the barriers. So, I mean, he's probably got a change of virtual underwear, but yeah, this is getting a bit fruity at the back end here, isn't it? I mean, Ian Manners has already made up, he's made up 1 position past Danny Weston, who was looking a bit fruity going into Britain's, as they now go through down from his hilltop into his lops, and then you got the sweeping right at Knickerbrook before they start really piling on the throttle pedal, going up the crest over here at Knickerbrook up into Clay Hill and Water Tower. But then you've got that very deceptive, it's like a blind crest underneath the bridge at Clay Hill, so you've really got to sort of measure it. It's a bit like the reverse of Paddock Hill Bend, as we ride on board with Ian Manners, who's now trying to chase down Christopher Evans as they come out of Druids Corner. They're going to very shortly be going into Lodge and then into Deerleap. So it's looking rather fruity at the back end of the field, but Ian Manners knows that he's got 43 minutes ahead of him, and he doesn't need to make too many mistakes. He's just got to bide his time and wait to just casually saunter his way through the AM traffic, as long as they don't give him any dramas.
Yeah, that's not going to help what's happening to Evans about now. That is not going to help Manners whatsoever. He's not going to know where to make that overtake. We've got Stefan Mellis under attack from Needham, and we got Venman, who has got the Australian in the BMW behind him in fourth. The fuel-saving master, let's just put it that way, here as well. Rob Williams is in the mix. They're running side by side. Haddington's going to go round. Haddington's off all day.
And he's in the barriers. He's in the barriers. Left-hand
Jason.
side. It was a little bit of a glance, though, in terms of the barriers. I mean, the car kept on rolling backwards, but I think Jason Haddington had his hands off that steering wheel quicker than you could say the word jump, because he was just literally, as soon as that touch happened coming through Lakeside, he was 100% a passenger on a roller coaster ride into the barriers.
Yeah, definitely as well. And as you can read from my good friend Mr. Peggles, who I know from the BSC, who made a very interesting livery for me last night as well. If you haven't watched the BSC, we did have a good look round the livery. Go and have a look at it. It's rather interesting. And currently 5:45 in Australia, by the way. Jordan Malcolm is racing at 5:45 in the morning. If anybody's committed, this man is, and well, I don't know if it's commitment or craziness, to be honest here, Alex. I'm not quite sure I'd be up that early.
I'm sure that he's probably had more. He's probably had his Vegemite ready to rock and roll.
Vegemite? Is that like Marmite?
It is. It's the Australian equivalent.
Yep, don't like that. Mate, it's horrible. It's like drinking.
Look,
it's like eating tar.
You know what? All I'm going to say about it is this: to each their own. Everyone's got an opinion about it. Some do like it, some don't like it. That's why Vegemite, it's Marmite. You either love it or you hate it.
Oh, no. Unfortunately, I'm on the hate fence, and I don't care if I'm getting splinters while I'm sat out there, Alex. I am not loving Marmite at all. But I tell you what, one man that is loving it at the moment, Chris Barnes, leading this AM fight, and he's got Mike Pierce behind him, about half a second. He's got Adam Hedgecock and Arnold Chagnon battling out in front of him. They're coming into his slops now. This is what Hedge is seeing. Hedge changed over from the McLaren into the Porsche this season as well. The guys do get one car change after week 13's update, but it has to be taken before round 2. So obviously round 2 will be next week. That will be after the update that happens on the Tuesday. So then that way they will be able to see what comes out on the BOP from the update. As we know, iRacing does like to have a little bit of a fiddle with the cars and see what's going on. So they will get one free car change before next week. After that, any car change after that, they will induce a quali ban. So unfortunately for them, they will have to make sure that if they are going to change, they're changing into the right one here. Needham is basically off the side of the circuit. Chris Needham, if he's ever had a night to forget, this would be it. And I can tell you now, too many beans coming out, and around he goes for Chris Needham.
Oh, that was coming through into Deer Leap as well. Barriers aren't forgiving on the right-hand side there.
No.
So, yeah, as you said, it's going to be he's having to wait for a few people to go through. Stuart Gibbons in the number 47 has been in the pits now for nearly 25 seconds. So the number 47 McLaren is having a bit of a problem. We've now got, there's the number 42, Stuart Rice closing in on Stefan Mellis, and the number 54 McLaren, who's up from 18th to 14th at the moment. Not too far behind them, they've got the 317 of Ryan Taylor, about half a second adrift. So this could be an interesting, tasty little battle. But then we've got a four-way scrap being led behind by Christopher Evans in the number 12 Aston Martin, who started 22nd, now is 17th. But Ian Manners is on a bit of a flyer at the moment. The number 52, he's running the 142 fours, is Ian, and he's made up 7 places from the back end of the field, and he is gunning to get himself past the Aston Martin of Christopher Evans in front of him. Then he'll have a bit of clear air to go after Taylor, Rice, Mellis, and as soon as he gets past Rice, that will put him into the top 15. but Ian Manners might have the strategy of going long. He was looking very briefly up the inside of Christopher Evans there in the number 12 Aston Martin. So if Manners stays in a train, first of all, he's getting slipstream. Second of all, he's not having to put the pedal to the metal. So instead of using 100% throttle, he can use 80%. That's going to save him fuel. So he can make the fuel last as long as possible if there's no designated opening and closing of a pit stop window.
Oh, Manners there with alongside Evans. Evans did disappear. He then appeared in front of Manners. Down the hill they go into Cascade. Manners on the left. He needs to clear Evans, partly due to Evans' flickering backwards and forwards, and he has done. Evans has run wide coming out of Cascade. Rob Williams is going to have a go. He's going to clear Evans as well. And Evans is through there. Sorry, he lost 2 places by running wide there, did Chris Evans. So unfortunately, he's lost a place to his teammate Rob Williams as well. And now Ian Manners again has got Ryan Taylor tracking now for Mr. Taylor. New to the series, he's chasing down Stuart Rice at the moment with Stefan Mellis from that Bonsai team further up there. And then in the middle, you've got Mr. Hedgecock, who's trying to get away from the leading hand, which is Chris Barnes at the moment as well in the Merc. It's a very interesting thing this season. We've got a lot of car swaps. We've got Hedgecock in the Porsche. We've got Barnes in the Mercedes. He's come out of the Aston Martin as well. You know, Weston's in the Porsche this season. He's come out of the Merc and has changed over. You know, car choices seems to be imperative. Williams is in the Merc. He's gone from the BMW to the Merc. So a lot of people favouring different cars this season, and as you can see, we've got quite a Porsche-dominated field with the front 3 all in Porsches with Perry, Simnar and Venman, and then we got a BMW of Malcolm. So there's a good mix here. We've got all 4 manufacturers in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest question is, if Chris Needham has had an absolute shocker tonight, could he affect a car change ahead of the second round of the championship this time next week, ahead of the Nurburgring? Because there'll be a car that's going to be quite strong around there, and I have a hazarding guess that it might not be the Cayman. You know, the Mercs tend to have pretty good top speed, so do the BMWs. Stefan Mellis in the number 54 McLaren has just been off track. Oh, and he's, I don't think he's had a good one. The Belgians just dropped about 5 positions. So Stefan Mellis now rounds out the top 20. He'd made up all those positions. He'd gone up 4 places from 18th to 14th and has just absolutely dropped the back end, probably dropped the back end of the McLaren somewhere on circuit, and now rounds out the top 20. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether Chris Needham decides to stick it out with a Porsche, or does he affect a change for next week? That's the big question that needs to be answered.
Yeah, I think for Needham was in the Porsche last season, so he's very familiar with the car. I think that's the thing with Needham. He's very familiar with the Porsche. But, as you say, and as we've got the BOP update coming out as well, you know, what's that going to do to the Porsche? Is there going to be a change? Is there going to be something done to the GT4s in general? They may not touch them. Don't get me wrong, they might just completely leave them alone. But it's a slim chance that that's what will happen, and that's why we brought in the rule that they've got one car choice free, change free, because of this situation. Because none of us really know what iRacing's going to do. You know, look at the SR10. Nobody knew that was going to go from good to bad and then back to good again. So it's been very tough for all of them. So I think that's the right thing to do for them all. But for Needham, is now he's got to decide whether or not he stays in that Porsche, or does he just chalk this down to, I've had a bad race, but next week I'm going to come back stronger.
Yeah, Stefan Mellis now in pit lane. I wonder what happened to him, to be honest with you, because he, as I said, he was running 14th, dropped down to the bottom part of the top 20. He's now been in the pits for nearly 20 seconds. Well, here it is. Now he's always touched the grass, going through in towards shallow oils, and he through the
watch him bounce.
Bang! Oh, that's a hard hit. That is a very hard hit. So he might have decided possibly to get his pit stop out of the way, because I mean, some drivers will go in early. We see that in IRL racing all the time, that some drivers will decide to go in. He's been in the pits for 36.97, so that's probably enough to get enough fuel in the car, and also to affect his one and only fast repair, because that's what they've got the facility of doing in this championship, haven't they, per round?
Yeah, they've got the fast repair per race, so they can take it, you know, each race. It's not like, oh, guys, you've got one fast repair for 2 races. No, we're not that cruel, you know what I mean? We appreciate it's sim racing and appreciate these things happen. Manners is trying to look up the inside of Taylor there. He's trying to pick them off one by one. And I think that's the good thing with Manners. He hasn't rushed this, has he? He could have rushed past the disappearing Evans. He could have rushed past the disappearing Taylor. And he's almost just looking for his moments, picking them off, you know, one by one, bit by bit. The pit stops are going to be with about 20 minutes remaining, give or take, round about there, depending on what their fuel situation is. So for Manners, he can afford to just keep picking them off. He's had 45 minutes here, you know, Alex, and at the end of the day, you've got to be sensible, because you don't want to end up like Stefan Mellis off this very corner.
Well, what you don't want, if your name is Ian Manners, to be right up the exhaust pipe going through Old Hall Corner, up the exhaust pipe of a certain Ryan Taylor, because first of all, you could have, you know, if Taylor decide he's having to avoid an accident, then Manners could have been unsighted if there was a spinning car in front of him, and then T-boning that would have caused significant damage. I mean, Manners does not want to be bitten twice with a drama like we had out of the chicane that he's just ventured through. And he's now looking through into his lops on the run to Knickerbrook. Yeah, he is just being very, very prudent. He's taking his time. I mean, if you start rushing things, that's when mistakes are going to get made. And you're seeing that Manners has a little bit of the overspeed here. Oh, he's that's a neat pass through on Taylor for 15th position, and that was on the run down towards Druid's Corner. So Ian Manners now 10 positions up. Could be the fact that Stuart Rice might be easy pickings, because they're just about to go through Dearly. Manners swings it a little bit wide to carry it towards the outside. He's going to get the overspeed, and he's going to get the side draft here, and that is now 14th for the number 52 as they head into the right-hander at Old Hall Corner at T1. 11 positions gained, and there's just over 30 minutes to go.
Yeah, Danny Weston at the back with Chris Evans of this pack. There's Manners, you can see in front now. Weston's picked them off here, and he's up 6 places. He's in that Merc. He's given Evans a run in this Aston Martin. I'm not going to say that this is a good idea, Danny, because it really wasn't. And too wide round Island, as we've seen, doesn't always work. Stays behind him for this time, and I think that's the sensible thing to do here. We have started to come into the 30-minute remaining mark. Tim Perry out in front for Altitude with Richardson now behind that. 1.9 seconds is Venman with Malcolm not too far behind them. Mikey Pollard is nestled in with Teague Ashburn behind in the BMW. Ashburn under attack from Chagnon as they're coming down through Druids, and on that run down into Lodge. Chagnon then for the good company has got Barnes. Barnes again, you know, it kind of freaks me out, and I think I say this in the biggest respect for Chris Barnes. You know, that AM doesn't need to be battling that pro. So would you risk it for the biscuit, Adam, or Alex, sorry, or would you just sit there and chill?
I think it depends on how confident Chris Barnes thinks he actually is, because then it will put people on notice ahead of him, saying that, well, okay, I'm an AM at the minute, but I want to get into that pro classification. No, he's doing a good job. He's the leading AM, 12th place at the moment. Ryan Taylor is the next one, and down in 15th. The biggest thing that I'm now going to keep an eye on is lap times, because up until just then, everyone from Ian Manners downwards was running, apart from the likes of Odomets and Needham, who were running 41.2s, 41.5s respectively. The majority of the field from Manners backwards were running at least a 142.3 and above. Now that Manners has got clear air, he's now started to respond, and now has the opportunity to push, because between him and Tom Weston in 13th, there is a 17.2 second gap. So this is where I think Ian Manners has the perfect prime opportunity to not put a foot wrong.
Yeah.
Do quali style laps in the vein of like what was it, Michael Schumacher back with Ferrari at the Red Bull Ring, being told by Ross Brawn you need to do 42 quali laps, and he responded, he said, okay, no problem. Manners now has got an opportunity to start closing the gap, because he might have saved those little bits, you know, 0.2, 0.3 of a litre a lap. That might help him to do the undercut on the field in front of him. And it could also dictate the strategy that then happens, because Tom Weston, I think, has just dropped down into the pits. Adam Hitchcock has so now we're seeing the pit stop starting to come in with a few drivers.
No,
now, this is what happened with Tom Weston. This is going to be him going off, and that's going to be a return to the pit lane. So this is coming down to spears into the right-hand side of the barriers coming out of Druids. Too much power, too much right foot on the beans pedal, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and if you watch his rear, he does hit the grass on the exit. Watch that left rear go out over the curb. There it is, and that is why that happened.
That's a 90 mile an hour crash. That is right there.
Watch this. This is what he's sort of coming out, and he just gets the grass, just gets it there, and then boom.
He was in fourth gear, accelerating at the same time. That is gnarly, and it's not what you want at all.
No.
But like I said earlier, you can have a mistake now. Might help you, you know, especially when it comes to like drop scores as well.
Yeah, well, they get one drop round, so see how Weston gets on here currently. Don't forget as well, Venman has got the Malcolm BMW closing up fast here as well. And yes, John Brown, you are right. Derek Cravat did leave the BMW and go to the Aston Martin, so you are 100% correct on that one. Chris Barnes and Arnold Chagnon. Barnes and Chagnon a pro. Not too sure whether the fight's worth having for Barnesy at the moment. I'm not too sure if he sees Mike Pierce behind him and thinks I want to get past Arnold Chagnon, or he's just maintaining the gap. I think that's going to be the question. But Venman has got Malcolm right beside him after a poor exit out of Cascades. Malcolm's not afraid to take it too wide.
That was a hip. That was Venman turning left, inadvertently gave Malcolm a hip check whilst he got the side draft. I think Jordan Malcolm has just lost one of his 9 lives right there, but still, to keep the throttle pin, getting it past Venman at that particular point on the circuit was very, very lucky indeed for the Aussie.
Yeah, well, he's no... Chagnon. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Poor old Barnes there alongside, nearly had his nose cut off there by Chagnon, and both of them could have ended up in the barrier, but they both managed to survive another day and fight as they come into Hislop. Chagnon in that green, black and white Merc for Air Smart Racing. Then Chris Barnes for the Triple P Racing AMG. Obviously, AMG, they're in the Mercedes. If you know anything about cars, you know the Mercedes AMG. That's where the team name come from, and it's good to see his partner this season in the same car where they were called Vantage, I think it was last season, or Triple B Porsche, I actually believe it was, and Williams was in a BMW, so it did cause a little bit of confusion with our very own Zach Sweetney, who did end up nearly trying to get himself in trouble with Williams there. But I think Chagnon has got a sigh of relief here, Alex. I think now with pit stop starting, it's now going to be what these front two are going to do and when they're going to make it through.
Yeah, Barnes has just exited stage right off of Dearleap and has gone into the pits for his mandatory pit stop on lap number 12 of this race. Perry's got nearly a 4.5 tenth of a second lead ahead of Simnor as we see them coming out of Shell Oils and now making their way through in towards Britain's. Very sweeping right-hander into a hard braking zone, into the chicane, and then you're again going up over another crest on the run through Hilltop down into this first part of the chicane here at Hislops before the right at Knickerbrook. So it's right. You've got to be very, very careful of the tyre barriers. Of course, a certain Ian Manners will know about the one on the left-hand side of the entrance into Britain's, as he found out last time
yes.
in race number 1 this evening. A real shame for him, but you know what? He's now 11th despite the fact we are having pit stops. Chris Barnes was in the pits for 18 seconds. Adam Hedgecock was in the pits for 17.7. So the big kicker here is that we've got just over 23 minutes to go. We're very close to the 22.5-minute half time on the ticker counting down here, James. And Tim Perry has got Simnor all over his back bumper like a rash on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. Simnor is trying to have a go at Perry. It's going to be who's had the fuel saving. Simnor's been in that second place for the first 22.5 minutes. He must have been trying to save at least a little bit. Pit stops between now and 15. They probably wouldn't get past the 15-minute mark if I'm not mistaken, and my calculations have all been correct. That's why we set it to 50% fuel, and now it's all about what's going to happen. Who's going to blink first? Is Simnar going to go for the overcut? Is he going to try the under? What is he going to do? Is he going to go in and cover off Perry? Does he think he's got the pace? All of these things at this moment are going through this young man's head, and that's the challenges of when you're racing, because even though we sit here and we say it's virtual racing cars, they're at home, they're in the comfy seat, and they're driving along with their direct drive wheels that if you crash are probably going to break your wrists, but you've still got the same reality as real-time racing to work out what you're going to do on your strategies. And I love pit stop strategies. I think they are just, they're two things. A, I love them, Alex, and B, they're the bane of my life because I never get them right. So, it works in both ways for these drivers. But for Simnar, he's got a lot to do, and he's got to start thinking about what he's going to do on these pit stops.
Well, he's been sitting behind Perry for quite a long old time, pretty much half of the race. Just noticed that Mike Pierce, the number 28 Porsche, was in the pits, JP, for nearly 37 seconds. That is double the amount of time that Chris Barnes was in the pits for. So Mike Pierce, I'm not too sure whether he's had to repair damage, and he's now ended up being demoted all the way down to 17th. So not too sure if there was a problem on the pit stop, possibly, which is It's never good. It's never good when you have a lengthy pit stop like that, because that puts you straight at the mercy of everybody else, because we still have everyone in the top 13 all the way down to the number 8 Mercedes of Richard White that have yet to jump down pit lane. Well, as I say that, I think Richard White might be going to the pits very shortly. Yeah,
I think Pierce may have had either a problem with his pit lane, pit fuel, and it seems to have kept him there a long old time, or one other thing, because it looks like Chris Barnes is not as long, so Barnesy did an 18. I'm wondering as well, Alex, if he has changed tyres. Tyres would put that amount of time onto his pit stop. So if he's gone and changed tyres and he's forgot to take it off, he's running on fresh rubber, but he's also dropped down to 6th in class, 17 overall. Bickley Motorsport, JP, you legend, long time no speak, hope you're well, dude. I am amazing. I am very well here as well. We've got the JPB Lees kicking off, Clio's Monday, GT4's Wednesday, TCR's Friday, plus all the other ones that we're doing. So Stuart Bickley, welcome in, sir. I am very well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to see you again. Krytor, what's happened to Pierce? Well, hopefully we've just explained that is what the situation is. We think he may have taken tyres. Jordan Malcolm, the first to blink out of the first 13, with Derek Crowther coming in as well. So a little bit earlier than I thought, Jordan Malcolm. He might have gone, I thought, with his pit stop skills, he might have gone a little bit longer, but maybe the BMW's just not quite got the reserve in place as the likes of the Porsche, because these guys are still going here, Alex.
Oh, he's you know what? This is where you said about Jordan Malcolm's fuel-saving strategy. He was in the pit box for 13.93 seconds. Derek Crowther was in there for nearly an additional 3 seconds, 16.8. So I think Jordan Malcolm has given himself a slightly shorter pit stop, because he's probably been saving that little bit of fuel when he's been behind Perry, Simnor and Veenman at the front end of the field. I mean, let's not forget, within the first couple of laps, they were covered by about, 1.2 seconds. So he's probably got it down pat in that BMW. So he's probably given himself a little bit of leeway.
Ooh.
As careful there. That was, I think that is
Chris Barnes.
That's Chris Barnes versus Richard White. Barnsley has already been in the pits. So Richard White nearly got a little bit of a rude awakening in a clean-up on aisle 3. Had Barnsley turned him round by sheer accident. But you can see now that Barnes has got the run. On White, and White has yet to pit, so we've still got another 11 out of the top 13 still to have their mandatory pit stop, and we are coming down to 18 minutes to go on the timer.
Yeah, the leaders have gone round once more here. White and Barnes are trying to go side by side in Hislops. Hedgecock sitting there looking at it all as well. This is the view from Adam Hedgecock. He can't see when you're round Oulton, and I promise you, I've been in a car around Oulton Park, and when you're following somebody this closely, there isn't a lot you can see, and one of the things you rely on is the braking markers of their lights in the car in front. But here is going Barnes now. He's going to go over White. White has surely got to be looking in, going into the pits. Barnes, he makes it through on the right-hand side. White's gone round. He's allowed Hedgecock. If White's got to come into the pits, he's got to drop back behind Adam Hedgecock. He doesn't come in. He goes through once more in that Merc. Is he going to be able to survive? That's going to be the question. We said to about 15 minutes here, and these front two are still a couple of minutes away from that, and neither of them have blinked yet with Venman behind. So Venman's really, to be honest, he could probably afford to go into the pits now to try and see if he can overcut what's going on, because the front two aren't fighting, are they? Simnar is just allowing Perry to get away and, you know, lead as much as he wants, and Simnar's probably there trying to save as much fuel as possible.
Yeah, that seems to be the optimum 3000 IQ strat there, JP. You know, you've got to really sort of test things out, because when we have the update, Richard Simnot, first lap time under 1 minute 40, 1 minute 39.993 from Richard Simnor, and he's now half a second behind Tim Perry. So that slipstream that Simnor is getting in the number 21 Porsche. Andrew Jones is going on about the livery getting worse and worse. And then Mr. Bickley goes, he's going to be so cross when he reads this.
That's because they've turned around and said, why is he driving a police car?
All he needs is a set of sirens and he needs a set of blues and twos on the top and a big old siren on it as well.
You can imagine if he comes in, maybe we'll see if that's on the Discord soundboard. They were having fun with that during the driver's briefing, I might like to add as well, playing around with soundboards. We did have an issue right at the start as well, so thank you so much for bearing with us. Sorry we were late getting going. Gavin Petty and Rob Williams. Now I'm hoping Petty has not made that's Island. Oh, Petty. Round he goes. Keeps it out. Good recovery. Williams, coming out of Knickerbrook. So Petty and Williams both having issues there as well.
I thought this was GT4, not Gymkhana, but well held by both drivers. I have to be completely honest with you. The old 360 going in towards Island Bend, that was well held, I have to say.
Yeah, definitely. And then Williams at Hislops did another stellar job. Perry's in. Perry's blinked first, and we knew that was coming. We knew one of them had to. And Simnar, as you said, save fuel, keep going. That's it. Now he's got to open up the wheels, hasn't he? He's got to now let that car go freely. He's got to get quali. One man that's trying to get quali is Mr. Hedgecock, and he's trying to get these quali laps in to get by Barnes. But Perry, Venman, Petty, Ashburn, Chagnon, all in the pits. Where is it going to leave this man? Is he going to come out in front? Is he going to be able to get past? He's going to jump. I think he's going to jump everybody bar Tim Perry. He's gone himself into third. I think Perry's just about got out in front of the man from Australia, front of Jordan Malcolm. Perry's jumped Venman. He did the trick that I expected him to do there from Jordan Malcolm. Made up places in the pit stop, and the man from us does it again, and now that just leaves him to go after Tim Perry.
Yeah, Ian Manners actually pitted at the same time as a lot of the drivers like Ashburn, Chagnon, He's been in the pits now for just over 13 seconds, and 15.4 for Ian Manners. So that's going to give him an opportunity. Now the thing is, Tauno Oromets was only in the had effected a pit stop earlier on, but that was only 4.38. So effectively, both he, Simnor, and Pollard are the only 3 drivers that have really done a pit stop. So I'm wondering whether Oromets has brimmed the tank again and might have a splash and dash at the end.
Yeah.
He's currently P12 at the moment, ahead of Ian Manners, and Manners has done an absolute sterling job, no matter what.
Sorry, I thought Simnar was going to go and torpedo the barrier then as he come into the pit lane at Oulton Park. I'm not going to lie. Right, he looked like he was going in, didn't he? Was that my eyes, or he did just look like he was torpedoing in there as well?
I think it might have been your eyes deceiving you, as Mike Pollard now throws it into pit lane, whereas James Parfitt nearly having a coronary in the commentary box.
Coronary. That was the word I was trying to say yesterday and I couldn't say it. I couldn't get it right, mate. Literally nothing. Oh, there's Simnar. There's Perry. Simnar's going to jump him. Richard Simnar has taken the lead with 12 minutes to go. He jumped Tim Perry in the pits. The man from AI Race Summaries Tracy team has jumped Tim Perry. And Perry now settles into second place, going after Simnar once more. This is going to be an epic battle. Pollard and Crowther. Crowther comes out just in front of Pollard. So Crowther there jumping Pollard in the pits as well. What about Ashburn with Petty? Nope, Ashburn still where he is. Oromets is in, which was what we were saying before. But this battle out in front is going to get spicy now because Simnar has now got Perry chasing him down.
Yeah, Andrew Jones saying he won't have any sirens and blues and twos. No one would pull over for Richard Simnor.
No.
Carrying on the joke. But Tim Perry needs to get a wriggle on here because we're, 11 and a half minutes still to go. There is plenty of time. We do know that things do happen in motorsport, but Simnor is the only driver so far tonight that has gone sub 1 minute 40. And when you consider the lap times that were being done in qualifying, that is the outright fastest lap of the night. But it's now about what Perry does at this point, because he's got to keep Simnor on his toes, keep him guessing. And now here's the opportunity that Perry has, which Simnor had previously, where he's got the slipstream advantage. And if he gets towards the inside or the outside of Simnor at one point on this circuit, pulls along past, he's going to have the opportunity to take back that race lead. So it's about where Perry picks his spots.
Yeah, definitely. Jordan Malcolm just coming round the corner there. He's now 3.3 seconds back before he can get involved. 3.2. You can see it coming down here. He needs these two to have a good old scrap for him to get that gap decreased. What about Pollard? He's trying to chase down Crowther in the 5th and 6th place respectfully. Pollard up 1, Crowther up 1, and the man that unfortunately has lost 2 positions is Gavin Petty. He's got Ashburn behind him as well. Mike Pierce in the AMS. He's trying to chase down or stay with Ian Manners, who Manners is up 13 places at the moment for Ian Manners. So got to be in there for driver of this race, I think, because he's done an absolutely stellar job. Hedgecock's 18 seconds up the road, mind you, so that possibly could be about as far as Manners will go. But wherever he's going to go, he's dragging Pierce along with him. So that's great overall for Mike Pierce. He just needs to stay with him. Ashburn's got Chagnon. Chagnon's no slouch in the GT4s. We saw his performances last season as well. Absolute stellar racer. What about Danny Weston and Ryan Taylor? Weston goes to go on a defensive, coming down into Islands. He does manage to hold Taylor back this time, but what's Ryan Taylor going to do here? He's got to try and have a go and see where he ends up for his last 9 minutes. This is the battle for the 3rd and finals place on the podium in the AMS. But here for Tim Perry, it's all about how close he's going to get to Simnar.
Yeah, that's now 3.5 tenths. It's going to be crucial. I think the next couple of laps could be providing the writing on the wall, so to speak here, James. But, Tim Perry is just keeping as he should do. He's not trying to overdrive the car. Because at this point, if you start doing that, what are you going to do? You're You're going to cause yourself a mischief. You're probably going to go onto the grass. You might turn the car in under braking. Teague Ashburn, I think I just spotted in the 871 BMW having a little bit of an off track. But yeah, Weston has now got past Taylor for position. So that's now a change for P3 in the AM class. So Danny Weston getting the best of the American in the 317. We're now riding aboard with Ryan Taylor as they come through out of Lodge Corner, down through Deer Leap. Taylor might get a little bit of slipstream here, but he needs to be a little bit closer than 5.5 tenths of a second heading into Old Hall Corner, because then when you've got the run down to the Avenue, Dentons, through into the sweeping left at Cascades, that's where your real run of momentum comes through at this circuit in the run up to Island Bend. But yeah, I mean, Perry is just literally stalking Simner at the moment with 7 minutes and 50 still to go. He's just got to pick his spot. Yep. And if he decides to go for a late lunge, it's got to be 120% committed. You can't go into their half cock, so to speak, because otherwise Perry, if he outbrakes himself, goes deep into a corner, T-bones Simnor into a spin, and it will cause damage to both vehicles, and that could give the opportunity to the Aussie, Jordan Malcolm, who is 4.5 seconds behind this battle, could put the number 35 BMW into the lead, but it just depends on what happens in front of the number 35.
Yeah, Perry's got to be a little bit sensible. He's got to try and make a move that's clean. He, as you say, he can't be half committed. He can't just be like, oh, I'm going to stick my nose up. No, you've got to stick your nose, the front wheel, the rest of the car all in there as well. He's trying to use the camber coming out of Shell Oils to get a good run. Now down into Britain's they go. It's that left-right flick, and then we're going to be on that run down into Hislops. Perry closes right back in. He's getting the run now. There is a back marker of Stuart Rice up the road, who I'm sure will obey James Parfitt's blue flags rules of moving out the way as soon as you can. But now into Hislops, the front two still battling away. Simnor, don't forget, jumped Perry in the pit cycle. He went a few laps. He went, I think it was 1 lap more than Tim Perry, and has managed to come out in front of Tim Perry. Now, what is Perry going to do? Is he going to sit there? For Jordan Malcolm's perspective, he needs these two going at it, right? They need to be going at it like absolute wild banshees for him to close that gap up. You can see Malcolm in the background. He needs these two fighting. He needs Perry to start making late moves into Shell Oils or into Lodge. He needs something. But these two now are in a position, just under 6 minutes to go, and now it's the nitty gritty. It's the keeping it on track, isn't it? That's what they've got to try and do at the moment.
Oh, definitely 100% agree with you there. And Simnor at the minute, because he's in front, he has the opportunity to park that car exactly where he sees fit. On the racing line, keeps the rear end of that Cayman as wide as humanly possible, but Perry, again, takes a little look going through into Island Bend off of Lakeside. And now you can see that Perry is starting to tee up Simnor through into Shell Oils. And this particular occasion, Simnor was a little bit wider, stayed off the curbing. Perry, however, decided to use the curbing. And now this back marker of Stuart Rice could be one of the deciding moments. Quickly, Simnor to the left, Perry to the left. Perry is going to get not only the slipstream from Simnor, but he's also going to get the side draft. Nearly takes the opportunity going through into Hislops, but thinks better of it. Thinks discretion is the better part of valor, and now has the opportunity to try and go at Simnor once again. But let's not forget, Perry has not lost momentum. He's kept with Simnor all the way through since Simnor undercutted him by being in the pit box for just over a second less. That's made all the difference, but that gap was just over a second in the pit box. That gap between Simnor and Perry on track is 3.5 tenths.
Yeah, absolutely. It's coming down to the final 4 minutes here. They're going to have about 2.5, maybe 3 laps at the most. What's happening down here with Adam Hedgecock? He's going at it. with Barnesy here and has absolutely been trying to get Barnes past Barnes. That gap's been down to 1/10 at one point, and Barnesy's doing a stellar job leading this Anfield off here. Ian Manners, well, big shout out to him. Up 13 places is Manners, and he's got Mike Pierce behind him. Now, we talked about earlier on, if you don't know, Alex, the DCW story is when I used to commentate on the DCW guys a while back now, a long while ago, they always seem to end up taking each other out, right? Now, since then, Ian Manners, Mike Pierce, Richard Simnar, Stig Venman, Pollard and Ashburn, they haven't got close to each other in this set of 2 races, apart from now, with Pierce and Manners. So for the DCW boys, all of you in chat, Jones, Faulkner and Bickley, yes, all of you, let's hope that they don't take each other out again. But it is a natural, how can I put it, tradition of the DCW team to remove each other from the track, should we say.
Yeet them into the yeet the other person into the shadow realm is probably the other vernacular some of us would use in racing community.
Absolutely.
But the thing is that they are doing a very, they're running in formation. They're about 2 to 3 car lengths distance between each other.
Yes.
That's about as safe a distance as you can possibly be to a driver within the same stable. And now Tim Perry has got that gap down to just under 0.3 of a second, marginally slower on the previous lap. We're on lap number 26 of this race, 2 minutes and change still to go, JP. This, I think now, is going to be very, very crucial, because after this we're going to have one more, we're going to have the white flag, because they're only 30% of the way through lap 26, and you can now see that Perry is not getting frustrated. He is now starting to put the pressure onto Simnor to try and force a mistake out of him. At the moment, that tactic is not quite working.
No, this overtake's going to have to be on track. Knowing Simnar, as I have done for a while now, mistakes happen, and it normally involves his own team, don't get me wrong. But generally, if the man is out in front, he's quite calm, he'll be all right, I'm sure. I know probably you guys, some of you are in probably the voice chat, because I know the DCW boys do like getting in. They're all in together, I believe. Manners, Pierce, Pollard, Sidnar, Venman and Ashburn. So I'm sure they're having a go. Ian Manners Pierce has gone past him. So they did that cleanly for the DCW boys. So well done to them as well. They didn't manage to stack into each other. But for Derek Crowther, however, he's got a Mike Pollard behind him as well, trying to close him down. So it is Blade Designs over the AI Race Summaries Tracy team here, coming into what will be, if I'm not mistaken, the final lap of the race. Barney's going to be on your left now. He's going to be waving that white flag. There he is. And now this is it for Tim Perry and Richard Simnar. Who is going to take this? Simnar takes a definite off track out of turn 1, and it's all about Perry now, isn't it, Alex? What can Perry do on this final lap?
Yeah, he's got to make a nice clean run through Cascades and then start carrying the momentum through. Again, Simnor, 2 wheels slightly onto the grass. Perry is looking towards his outside on the run down to Island Bend through Lakeside. This is going to be nip and tuck, but it's also about the exit out of Shell Oil's corner. Is Perry going to be a little bit later on the brakes? He is. Who's going to be tighter on the apex? They're about the same. Maybe Simnor's a little bit tighter through on the inside curbing. That gap now is 0.3 of a second. I think if Perry wants to send it, he's either going to have to go for it at Druids, which I don't think will happen. It could be Lodge Corner, and then maybe on the run down to Deerleap for the final time. But with 3.5 behind between the two of them, Simnor's just a handful of corners away, but it's his to lose. It's his to lose, let's not forget.
Yep, as they come up now here under the Clay Hill through past the water tower. This is it. This is where Alex said, is he going to make it into Druids? He's not. This is the final run for Tim Perry. It's now or nothing. It's going to be nothing, I fear, and it's going to be Simnar. Perry's looking at making a move. Can he force Simnar into the mistake, into the last corner? Down through Deerleap they go. It is going to be Richard Simnar. He is going to take the win in the feature the race with Tim Perry coming over in second, and then the Australian of Malcolm in third. Let's jump down to Barnesy. Is he still holding on to that AM lead? He is at the moment. Pierce has cleared Manners and is cleared off down the road now without any contact, which is great. But for Barnes here, what's going to happen here? Because he's got Ashburn in front, and he's got Chagnon there as well. He's got Hedgecock trying to go up the inside of him on the final corner. They're going to come racing down to the line. They're not even the same class. Hedgecock's going to go for it. Who's going to get it? It's going to be Barnesy. Barnesy's got it. What's happening with Manners and Pierce? They're side by side. Oh no. Down into the last corner they go.
Manners trying to do the crisscross on Piercy, and they're going to be line astern coming across the line out of Deer Leap, and it is going to be Mr. Pierce that takes it ahead of Mr. Manners. But you know what? Driver of the night for me there's a couple of candidates, but I have to say, despite the dramas in race 1, Ian Manners getting up as high into the top 10 as possible using an alternative fuel strategy starting from the back end of the field, finishing 13th. I mean, that is a solid effort after 45 minutes of racing. Hands down, one of the best drives of the night.
Absolutely, fully agree. Chris Needham did manage to get up a place into 18th. He's had a horrid race this evening as Needham on a lap 3, spun as well in race 2. Then he had contact with Barnes in race 1, and then now he's come over the line in 18th. What about Oromets at the moment? He comes over in that BMW, spins it for good health just as he goes over the line and sticks it into the wall. So good job. Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, he didn't hit the wall going through Old Hall Corner on turn 1, did he, on lap 1? He was very lucky he got away with that one.
Yeah, definitely was there. We will bring you up the results. They're just going to get some drivers queued up to have a chat with here. But let's bring you up the results from the second race of the evening. Richard Simnor is your winner for the AIRaceSummaries.com Tracy team. Tim Perry from Altitude in second and Jordan Malcolm in third place. That is your 1, 2, 3 of the pros. Stim Venman in fourth, Derek Crowther fifth. Great run out for Crowther for his first time out in the pros. Big props to you. Mike Pollard in sixth, Gavin Petty seventh, Teague Ashburn eighth, Arnold Chagnon ninth, and Hedgecock did manage to claim 10th past Chris Barnes, literally separated by not a lot as they went over the line. But Chris Barnes did take the win in the AMS. Mike Pierce in second with Ian Manners, as we say. Manners up 12 places in the end, put himself in 13th. Danny Weston rounds out the podium for the AMS. Chris Evans in 15th there with Ryan Taylor 16th. Rob Williams is in 17th place. Chris Needham battled his way into 18th there with Tono Oromets 19th. Stuart Rice 20th. Richard White 21st. Stephen Mellis 22nd. And Tom Weston, Stuart Gibbons and Jason Harrington didn't finish the race. And we have got some people waiting in the booth for us, and let's have a chat with your second place man in race 2. He took the race win in the first one, get second in the second one, jumped in the pits by Richard Simner, and that is Tim Perry. Tim, welcome in. How are you, sir?
Yeah, hot and sweaty. That was a very, very tough race.
Yeah, it definitely was. But let's talk about race 1 first. You know, you managed to get past Simnor there and took the win in race 1. So, you know, not a bad start to the evening.
No, yeah, absolutely brilliant. I mean, you know, when I saw Richard's name on the entry list, I knew it was going to be a tough battle because he's a very quick driver. You know, I normally have the slight edge on him in GT3, but I think he's a bit quicker in GT4s. So I knew I was in for a tough battle, and yeah, it certainly proved that way. But I mean, I just basically was sat behind him and hoping he'd make a mistake, because you know what Oulton Park is like. You cannot overtake here for love nor money. You know, you need a bit of assistance from the other guy, really.
Yeah, absolutely. It is so tight, isn't it? And race 2 proved that. You know, you led away at the beginning. You got the jump, as everybody seemed to, you know, coming down through Lodge and out of Deer Leap. You stayed in front. You went into the pits. And then you come out and you find Richard Simnor in front of you. You know, was you upset, gutted? Did you sit back and think, oh, how did this happen? What was going through your head then?
I mean, I kind of expected it because despite being on iRacing for kind of 11 years and sim racing for 20 years, I'm still a complete noob and forgot to do any pit entry practice. So obviously, when it came to the pit entry, I was very cautious just to make sure I didn't do anything too stupid. So that probably cost me a little bit of time. And then, I was out front leading, so it's always gonna use a bit more fuel. I was very close to doing the extra lap as well, but I didn't want to risk it. And then, this is a sort of track where you can't really say that much, especially not out in front, because one little mistake and he's going to get the jump and then it's all over anyway. So I just had to hope for the best, really, drive as fast as I could. But yeah, it is what it is. But, I'll take that, a P1 and a P2 to start the season.
Not bad at all. Now, going forward, obviously, we've got no Mark Fletcher from the altitude here as well. We've got no Arthur Ferdel, who I also understand as altitude. So is Tim Perry going for the championship? Is he going to be up there when we get to the end of the season?
Yeah, well, I basically paid him loads of money to stay away and give me a chance this year. That was so, what I mean? At the minute, it looks okay, but I think this is a bit of a Porsche track. The tight, twisty ones are probably going to be the Porsche tracks. The wider tracks will suit the other cars, so we see the other drivers coming to play a bit more. And I think Richard Simler's going to be a very hard challenge in himself. He's a really smooth driver. Like watching his onboard, he's incredibly smooth, and I'm just an animal behind the wheel. So, I think for the sprint races I'll have a good chance, but then in the feature races he's going to look after his tyres really well, going to save the fuel really well. So it should make for a really good season, to be fair. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it is going to be a good one, Tim. Well done on your first and your second. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Yep, obviously Altitude Esports, my teammate, Mr. Hedge, our sponsors, Sim Stickers, 3M, Finding Speed, and Grumpy Dad Designs.
Awesome.
Thank you to those guys for making this possible.
Awesome stuff, Tim. Thanks so much for joining us there, bud, and we'll look forward to chatting to you as the season goes on.
Cheers, buddy.
Take care. Right, now let's have a chat with the man that finished in second place in race 1. He did the jump in the pits in race 2 and he took the win, swapping places with Tim Perry. Richard Simnart, welcome in, dear sir. Long time no speak. Thank you so much for coming to join us.
Well, it's lovely to be back and wonderful to hear your voice again.
Oh, it's a pleasure hearing you. When you watch it back, though, however, I was not responsible for what Paddy Faulkner, Stuart Bickley and Andrew Jones was saying about you in YouTube chat, all right?
They're en masse, are they? Bless them.
Yes.
Special children.
Yeah, now they're all going asleep in YouTube chat. I'm not quite sure if that's got something to do with you or me, to be honest. But look, mate, first round, a win and a second. Got to be happy to get that going, haven't you? Surely.
Yeah. I surprised myself really. I haven't really done much GT4s before, and just started running another series only a couple of weeks back. Got a podium in that series as well. It just seems to be a car that it just, I don't know, suits me, I guess. I'm enjoying it, to be honest. I'm used to racing far back in the mid pack. So to be at the front, and I know the Altitude Esports guys, and they're all great guys. It's wonderful to race up against them every single week. Yeah, just wonderful. I mean, I was a bit gutted, I'll be honest, with that first race because I thought this is fine, this is in the bag. Just need to get a good exit. And then the one exit I didn't make, I think Tim absolutely nailed it. He just got such a run. And I think we went round King Island about as close as iRacing physics will let you go without pinging you into a wall. So, yeah, pretty Goldschmidt. We had a good laugh about it afterwards in voice chat, so it was good. Yeah, what can I say about the feature race? I mean, just kept up with an extremely rapid Tim. Just trying to hang on a little bit and just make sure when I'm close, to save a little bit of fuel. And we were just discussing it in the waiting room, and I think I put in about 2 litres less than him, and I think that made a difference at the end of the day.
Yeah, he was a bit quicker, about one and a little bit seconds faster in fuel there. coming in, you've done race 1, you've done 2 races now. Where do you see yourself come the end of the season? I know we've got a long way to go, Richard. I'm not sitting here saying, are you going to win it or your predictions, but what's the aspiration? What did you come in here for to achieve? Did you want to achieve the win? Did you think you could achieve the win? What's going through your head on that side of things?
Well, like I say, like altitude esports are they're a known quantity to us, so we kind of know where we stack up. Now, I'd say my experience of racing Tim he's a lot faster in a GT car than I am, so I was sort of more aiming towards sort of hedgehog pace, really. But yes, jumping into a GT4 seems to be better than a GT3, so I think it'll be a season like that. That's all I'll say right now. I think there are guys there that will show their true pace, out pace that day. So you know, it might be 3 or 4 way battle all the way through the season. I think based on that result, I'll be in a shout, but you never know. I mean, who knows? It takes on one bad race to sort of drop you down the order, but especially if like I say, it's going to be close all season. We'll see, won't we?
Yeah, we definitely will. I'd like to just give you the guy, your guys a big congratulations. Now, obviously, I've known you for a while and I've commentated on you before. I'm just impressed this evening that none of you crashed into each other.
Well, we always say this, but when you make up a big portion of the grid, I believe the last time you commentated on us was it the PP Cup?
Yeah.
Back in the so we're about 30% of that grid as well. So when you make up that bigger portion, you're going to hit somebody that doesn't enter into chance it's been a very teammates. Inevitably the stories start coming.
Yes.
If Andy Jones is still in chat,
he is.
For the 5 car that really created out of the whole CW field in America.
Yes.
All those months ago, but no. So we'll see. I think we're all quite calm in this one. We were very much just let the teammates do their thing and don't try to interfere too much. Whereas in other series, it's just go for it. Don't care too much. But we've done a few series together now, and Mikey's been my teammate for quite a few rounds now, so we know what we're doing. We know when we should and shouldn't push each other, and hopefully, touch wood, I'll have jinxed it now, but hopefully, touch wood, we won't see any blue on blue incidents or Grello on Grello. Is that what we're going to say nowadays? I don't know.
Well, they called you a police car in YouTube chat, so I'm going to go with that one.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
We were remarking that it was a bit like a police car, so as long as it's bright enough for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Richard, thank you so much for joining us there, bud. Anyone you want to shout out before I let you go?
Just one little shout out to my cat Lando, who's been a bit poorly. He's been in hospital for a class recently, and he's absolutely loving the life there. He's back home now, so absolutely open to have him back in the household.
Awesome stuff. Well, thank you so much, Richard, for joining me. I look forward to having a chat with you as the season goes on, buddy.
Yeah, cheers, please.
Take care. Right, now we've got Jordan Malcolm, the man from Down Under, here as well. He finished in 3rd place in race 2. Jordan, welcome in, sir. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm not bad, mate. I'm surprised you're still awake. I've been told at one point it was 5:45 in the morning for you in Australia.
Yeah, it's not too bad, but it's currently 6:45 now, so yeah. It's not the worst thing in the world.
No, definitely not. How was the racing, mate? Did you enjoy that?
For a track I didn't like, good race. Looking forward and after any better. Yeah, I think it was definitely a shorter track, so hopefully Nurburgring next week BMW can hopefully shine a little bit better.
Yeah, you're only one of 2 BMWs in the field at the moment. Obviously, we've got the BOP situation coming out next week for, iRacing, whatever they come out and do, and whether or not they slow something, fast something up. Do you think the BMW's your car? Is it a car that you like driving? Because obviously we see the Porsches, we see the Aston Martins, the Mercedes. Apart from you and Torno Oram, that's the only boys in the BMWs.
Yeah, I think Ashburn was also an AMW. It's not a very popular car just because I think it's the older people like it stuff a little bit better. I think our racing certainly helped it since New London cuts out. It's definitely not been slow by any means, but I personally don't mind it. It just feels a little bit sluggish at some tracks, but I think getting better.
Yeah. So you're going to be going for it as well. You know, Jordan, are we going to see you in for the whole in season, or are you going to be able to do certain rounds but not others?
I'll try and show up as many as I can. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I also arranged this with the boys that were driving. So yeah, hopefully I can enjoy a lot more than this season.
Awesome stuff. Well, Jordan, it's been a pleasure talking to you as it always is. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Yeah, just got Smith Marvin to shout out to us watching the broadcast. To my team, 19 in Raps Racing, and yeah, you guys for the broadcast and everyone on the track for a good race, and obviously people in chat.
Awesome stuff. Well, Jordan Malcolm, thank you so much for joining me, bud. I look forward to chatting to you as the season goes on, buddy.
Thank you.
Well, there you go, Alex. Round 1 is down. 9 more to go here. And I think, to be honest, this could be an epic season.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see whether we see any car changes after week 13. I mean, that's going to be the kicker. When that goes in, I'm sure that every single driver on this grid will be looking at whether it has compromised them in terms of the car choices. Of course, we talked earlier on in the broadcast that they can have one free car choice for round 2, and then after that, if they decide to change their cars again, then they get quali bans. Yeah. So that could really if someone changes the car 3-4 times during the season, then that could put them a bit on the back foot. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens at the Nurburgring next week. You know, a very different circuit. There's a lot more technicality. There's quite a few places for overtaking. Got that nice run coming out of the final corner down into turn 1 and then into the Mercedes-AMG Arena. I think it's always dependent about qualifying at the Nurburgring is going to be quite important. But then the first race isn't really going to give us an indication of what's going to happen between all the different cars, how the performance of the cars has been changed on the new iRacing update. I think it's a case of, folks, you're going to have to wait and see what we find out in Germany next week. Round 2.
I think we definitely are there, and I think at the end of the day, we will find out what happens here as well. Paddy Fortnite, I want to play now. Well, there's still room, Paddy. You can take round 1 as your drop week there, sir, and come back and join us for round 2 next week if you want to. You know what I mean? Come on, you can get yourself involved. But to be honest, I think now from myself up here in the booth alongside Mr. Alex Goldschmidt, that's going to bring the broadcast to an end. Thank you so much to everybody that has come along and joined us for this epic race 1. Don't forget, we've got more racing coming up for you on the JPB YouTube channel this week as well. So be aware, we've got the final races of the Radical Race Series kicks off tomorrow night, as well as the last round of the Evolution Sim Racing, and then we've got the Triple Bypass Gem 4 also, but that's at 2 a.m. So, you know, unless you're in America, you can come along for that one. Don't forget, on Friday we've got the TCRs there at Oulton Park for the Island Circuit, so that's going to be an interesting one as well. You can have a look at all the leagues that are available at www.jpbroadcasting.com/league racing. Get yourselves involved and come and have a good time. But for now, guys, from myself up here in the booth with Alex Goldschmidt, take care, have a great week, and you never know, we might see you on the track sometime. Good night.
Night.